From the records of Wilt Chamberlain to the efficiency of Steph Curry, the NBA has seen the dynamics of scoring change and evolve over the decades. Scoring is more than just a skill or a statistic. To me, it's truly an art form, and one of the masters of this art is Kevin Durant. And here is just a quick rundown of his scoring accomplishments. Durant has led the league in scoring 4 times and is also the youngest player to have led the NBA in scoring at only 21 years old. Out of active players, he ranks 3rd in career points per game, only behind Luka Doncic and Joel Embiid, who are both yet to reach a decline in their careers. He ranks 6th all-time in points per game, 4th all-time in playoff points per game, and is currently 10th on the all-time scoring list. So, what makes KD such a good scorer? Well, straight away, Durant is immensely skilled, but that's not what's impressive. His skill set doesn't match his size, that's what's impressive. Durant is practically 7 feet tall, and before he entered the league, the stereotypical 7-footer would be a centre who's posted up on the block or blocking shots. There were offensively skilled centres in the past, like in the 60s with Wilt Chamberlain. Then we had the 70s with the dominance of Kareem and his skyhook, and then in the 90s we had Hakeem Olajuwon, impeccable footwork with an incredible post and mid-range game. In the 2000s we started to see a shift. More 7-footers started to play at the power forward position, the likes of Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, and most notably Dirk Nowitzki. Duncan and Garnett could score the ball great down low and were very capable mid-range shooters, but neither player was on Dirk's level when it came to pure scoring. Dirk is what we now know is a stretch big, a big man who can space the floor spanning all the way out to the 3-point line. He was creative, versatile, but most importantly, he was able to put the ball on the floor. So with that little bit of knowledge, you can see where the game has expanded to today. So let's explore KD further. His skill set is incredible. He can handle the ball like a guard, which gives him an incredible advantage over any defender he faces, as anyone his size is likely to be much slower and nowhere near as agile. On top of this, his 7'5" wingspan allows him to shoot over near enough anybody. Durant is a master of the mid-range. The mid-range is considered 10 to 16 feet away from the basket all the way up to the 3-point line. From this distance for his career, KD shoots 47.7% between 10 and 16 feet, and then 45.5% from 16 feet to the 3-point line. For context, Kobe for his career shot 43 and 40% respectively. And even Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, can't match KD, shooting just over 46% from both. Tracy McGrady is someone people compare KD to with their size, play style and scoring ability, but even if you took the best percentages from T-Mac's career, he still doesn't match up to KD, and let me remind you, that's compared to KD's career average. As I mentioned before, Durant's 7'5" wingspan makes it easier to shoot over people, but that's not only what it's good for. On top of being a sniper, Durant is also an incredible finisher around the rim. Being 7 foot means he's never really overcoming a challenge at the rim. He sizes up well with centres and can lay it up over anyone smaller. I know that stats aren't everything and you have to take into consideration eras and defensive game plans, but there's one thing with stats that I love, and that's they tell you facts straight up. Whenever KD plays, he's gonna score, and not only that, he does it on incredible efficiency, and that is what I think defines Durant: efficiency. He's an assassin from everywhere on the floor. There are plenty of skillful 7-footers, but Durant stands alone as easily the most talented scorer at his size. A milestone that really defines efficiency is being a part of the 50-40-90 club. That's where you shoot 50% or higher from the field, 40% or greater from free, and 90% or higher from the free throw line. There are only 9 players in NBA history who have ever made this club, and of those 9, only 3 have ever done it more than once. The 9 players are Steph Curry, Mark Price, Reggie Miller, Steve Nash, Kevin Durant, Larry Bird, Dirk Nowitzki, Kyrie Irving, and Malcolm Brogdon. The 3 players to do it multiple times are Nash, Bird, and Durant. To go even further than this, Durant is tied with Nash for the most games played in a season to keep this average at 81 games. But Durant again stands alone as the only player to have a season with 55-40-90 splits. Now the 50-40-90 club is rare because it spans the entire season, but 50-40-90 games are more common, and I've compiled a list of exceptional scorers who have scored 25 or more points on this efficiency. I've further divided the scoring total so you can see how many 30, 40, 50 point games that these players have scored. You can see here that KD has the most games between 25 and 30 points scored on these splits. He also has the second most 30 to 40 point games and the second most 40 to 50 point games on these splits. In total, he's only second to Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, in these splits. And this is compared to the greatest scorers of all time, LeBron, Jordan and Kobe, with other players like Tracy McGrady and Dirk thrown in there as a comparison. Now, on top of this, here's another statistic. Here are the amount of games that these players have scored 15 or less points in. KD again is the best here, even beating out Jordan, who had a career average of 30 points per game. And this isn't even comparing KD in his prime. KD is entering his 17th season. He's in the twilight of his career and he's coming off a season where he's just averaged 27 points per game, and that was ranked 5th in the league this season. The stats around his scoring efficiency and volume proves that not only can he score, but that he scores efficiently and consistently. KD is also contracted in for the next 2 years, which has got me thinking about where he could finish his career in the all-time scorers category. Currently, he sits just shy of 29,000 points, which is 10th all time. Now let's assume KD plays 2 more seasons like he's contracted to, and plays 60 games each season, so that's 120 games. Being conservative, if he averaged 20 points per game for both those seasons, he'd end up with 31,324 points, landing him in 8th just behind Wilt. But KD will probably score closer to 25 points per game, so if he averaged realistically 24 points per game for those years, we'd see him finish 6th. And with that said, I don't think it's impossible to see him crack the top 5, especially if he plays for 3 years as opposed to 2. So here are my final remarks around KD. KD is currently a one-of-one player. Nobody has ever possessed the size, skill set, agility and scoring capability that he has. Durant is one of the most unstoppable, consistent, efficient scorers in the history of the game. Now, will we ever see someone like him again? Surprisingly, the answer is yes. The game has evolved to a point where we never thought we'd see another Dirk. KD has came along and improved upon that, and now we have Wembanyama, someone who's 7'4" and can handle the ball, shoot the 3 and everything else. KD is now the blueprint and the foundation for the new generation to build upon. So now these new players coming through can take what KD has mastered and just run with it. Will they ever be as good as Durant? I don't know. But one thing I can say for sure is that Durant has truly mastered the art of scoring.